Madam Chairman, at this time it's my pleasure to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Graves, the chairman of the Small Business Committee.
Gentleman from Missouri is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank the chairman of the committee for working with us today. I rise in support of H.R. 2804, which is the ALERRT Act. This legislation represents a very important effort to bring some common sense and transparency to an out-of-control regulatory process that's stifling growth, and especially among small businesses. I'm especially pleased that this legislation, which the Committee on Small Business worked on, H.R. 2542, the Regulatory Flexibility Improvements Act, I'm particularly pleased that it was incorporated into the ALERRT Act, and I again want to thank Chairman Goodlatte for working with the committee on the title of this bill. For over 30 years, agencies have been required by the Regulatory Flexibility Act, or the RFA, to examine the impacts on regulation on small businesses. If those impacts are significant, agencies must consider less burdensome alternatives. The problem is that agencies still fail to comply with that law, and the result is unworkable regulations that put unnecessary burdens on America's best job creators, which are small businesses. In numerous hearings over the years, the Small Business Committee has heard about the consequences that burdensome regulations have on farmers, on home builders, manufacturers, and many others. And instead of using their limited resources to grow and create jobs, small businesses have to spend more time and money on regulatory compliance and paperwork. The Regulatory Flexibility Improvements Act is going to eliminate loopholes that agencies have used to avoid compliance with the RFA, and most importantly, it requires agencies to generally scrutinize the impacts of regulations on small businesses before they're finalized. Examining whether these are less burdensome or less examining whether or not these are less burdensome or less costly ways to implement a regulation, it just makes common sense. And reducing unnecessary regulatory burdens frees up some scarce time. It frees up money and resources that small businesses can use to expand their operations and hire employees. The Regulatory Flexibility Improvements Act is bipartisan legislation. It has strong support among the business community, and it simply requires agencies to do their homework before they regulate. And if agencies do their work, more Americans are going to be working. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Virginia reserves. The gentleman from Georgia is recognized.